So I'm really inspired by Bruce Lee now as I keep going forward. You know, interviewing. Well, I have interviewed some of the martial artists of their own system. Well, from Chole Fut to Jeet Kune Do to Wing Chun to Tai Chi. I would like to interview other martial kung fu artists and karate because there's so many things that I want to know, not just the aspect of martial arts, not just the aspect of a certain specific type of topic. I wanted to understand about people's life stories, education, their background, because quite honestly, it's very interesting. Today, I will give you the top six books that Bruce Lee read, and it's very interesting. And I will leave a blog and a podcast that I recently listened to, and it's very humbling and or very exciting. It's very generate ideas. Now, for those who are for people all around the world, right? We all know Bruce Lee. I remember back in the day, back in high school. I remember I was walking the hallway and I saw my crush, right? And I was walking, and she was with her friend, and I was with my friend, and I was wearing Bruce Lee shirt, and it's always in my mind. But I was wearing a Bruce Lee shirt. It had his head on it, his head of Bruce Lee, and but I didn't know who was Bruce Lee was and how this translate into self-help personal development world, right? I believe that Norman Vincent Peale and Napoleon Hill created this guy. Well, not created, but made him who Bruce Lee was without Think and Grow Rich, without Napoleon Hill, Norman Vincent Peale, The Magic of Thinking Big, without these type of books influencing his, because he didn't just read on martial arts, other martial arts background. He read self-help, he read spiritual stuff, and I will put in the link in the description below. And of course, the reason why I'm going deep into this is because I'm truly inspired by his work, and not by how he's an incredible martial artist. Of course, I respect him for it and how he does things, but I'm incredibly attracted to him by the way that his mind operates. I want to dig deep to his past history, and I had bought Bruce Lee collector. I highly recommend everybody get this because it's truly an epic story. And my favorite story, where he, as an adult, Bruce Lee famously practiced by throwing 5,000 punches a day as an adult, but as a youth in Hong Kong, there wasn't always necessarily a regimen behind every blow. In fact, as Bruce Lee grew up in the harsh urban environment, he often found himself faced with a situation in which his natural skills in martial arts were put to greater pursuit. The Hong Kong high school boxing champion would eventually become involved with a street gang not unknown in the mid 20th century as known as Tiger of the Junction Street. Now, this you should get if you're into Bruce Lee and you're a fan of Bruce Lee, right? And his work. But I'm gonna go to the blog now, and his book and self-help is The Amazing Result of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and many other Norman Vincent Peale titles. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Dynamic Thinking by Melvin Powers, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, As a Man Thinking by James Allen, The Success System That Never Fell by W. Clement Stone, because W. Clement Stone is a friend of Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And of course, that's was it six, right? One, two, three. That's seven, I think. One, two, four, five, six, seven. And How to Raise from Failure to Success in by Frank, whatever his last name. Was Begger, whatever. Now, in one of the podcasts, it was I was trying to find one of Brandon Lee, Linda Lee, Shannon Lee, because since I interview Dana Lee Inosanto, um, who's the daughter of Dan Inosanto, who was in Game of Death, and Ron Balicki, wife of Ron Balicki, who's her husband, teaches teaches Jeet Kune Do, and I am so grateful to Ron Balicki, and he's an epic dude. You should check the interview of him. Like his mindset, like these these martial artists, the Ron Balicki, probably Danny Inosanto, and Dianna Lee Inosanto, are all into personal development. From she mentioned Robert Kiyosaki, Bruce Lee would read other things, but in that um, section of podcast, she said, Bruce Lee always had this positive mindset. He's like, no, you got to think positive. It's very interesting how that's where he got where he is. And the reason why I'm doing research on Brandon Lee too, because Brandon Lee, I'm inspired by Brandon Lee because of the movie The Crow, and I love The Crow. Like the story is how he came from. He was, I think he died in his I forgot what happened. He tried to save his girlfriend from being raped or something in the movie, but I can't remember. I have to rewatch it. And then he fell off of a building. I don't know, either they kill him or something, but he come back and try to have vengeance. That's what they call vendetta. Crow, and never mind. Anyway, I love Brendan Lee for his when he was in Rapid Fire. But I'm gonna leave a video in here, and I'm gonna edit it in with where Dana Lee, because she said, she knew Dana Lee knew Brandon Lee. Of course, she know Shannon Lee, and they were. I remember I was watching Dana Lee. We were talking about how she knew Brandon Lee as a family. They were always together. So Dana Lee called Bruce Lee as her uncle, and it was very interesting how the world that shift, and I want to find that. That's my journey of discovering who Bruce Lee was, not for as a martial artist on the screen, but for his philosophy of life. Where did his philosophy ingrain? Where did his mindset develop? Where did it's like his philosophy come from growth, right? Personal development, self-help. Always people always blame on self-help stuff, but Bruce Lee was into self-help and more intricate life than we can imagine. He knew how to warp reality. He knew how to bend reality. He knew how to use his subconscious mind to attract or do certain type of thing, to be charismatic, to influence, to be able to get people to like him, because he understood the power of knowledge. He um, understood the power of books. People don't understand that books can help you reinvent your mind, reinvent who you are, reinvent what you do. It always helps. The person who I am today is not the person who I was in the past. It's not easy. I still have to go through what everybody else go through. But without those books, I would not have interviewed Ron Balicki, Dana Lee Inosanto, Dr. Renee, uh, Zen Rose Garden, all the Wade Bloodgood, all these amazing people who wrote books. I would not have done that if I didn't input my daily mind into developing my mind and knowledge to a higher level. And I'm still growing, and I still make mistakes. The fail that we make is it's not permanent. It can be permanent if we stay there and we don't learn from it. And so the thing is, because there was a book that was written by a teacher where she told that Bruce Lee wrote a go, and it was exactly like Think and Grow Rich, where he said like Think and Grow Rich, because Think and Grow Rich is the powerhouse book that most people should read when it comes to mindset, the goal that if you have no goal to aim, you will not move. But if you have a goal to aim, you will move forward. I was about to say it, W, but forward in life. If I didn't aim for the interviews, didn't aim for that, then I would not have built the interview the our not arcade, the I don't know how to say it, but the interview that I have lined up. Um, those rejections that I'm continuing to have from all those top people, I'm not afraid of it because I'm like, okay, I'm used to it. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm like, it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, next year, 2 years from now. It's going to happen along the road because I still have so much um, things to do here on earth, and we have to generate those positive mindset. We have to overcome the negative tendency that we tend to have, and we have to push forward for that momentum. And if you want to reinvent your life, you must surround yourself by people who have dreams, who are doing the dream, who push you a little bit further, push you to do things that you once forgot you had, push you to know that there are times that you must give up on things that for pleasure, things for at the moment, so you can move forward. If I didn't give up the things that most people do, part of their way their life, do things that most people will regret, you can look. I'm all having fun. I love to have fun more than anybody else. I'm telling you, I love to have fun. Like, this is who I am. But the thing is, it will be wasted if you party, if you do things that is fun now, then you will be wasting your life, your time, that you could have been doing something that mold you, change you, to grow into an epic person that you always wanted to be, and not die, not not die knowing that you could have done better. And this is the moment that you take that idea that, hey, if Bruce Lee can um, get out become this type of person because he decided to not stay there. And if you hear the struggle of Bruce Lee, he had a back injury, and doctor told him he couldn't whatever move if he moved, or he couldn't become walking around. I don't know, I remember, but hear the podcast of Linda Lee, and that he chose to not listen to the doctors. He chose something for his life, and that we must take that idea from him. We must take ideas from people. We must take it and say, what can I do for myself so I can move a little bit each day forward towards a vision, a dream that I'm willing to stake my life on it, to stick it to the ground and say, hey, you're not stopping me. The only person who can stop, it's yourself. And yes, there are going to be days, I don't care. For me, there are days that I do not want to get up. I love sleep more than most. Because the sleep is feel good, man. It's like, fuck, man. But you gotta do what you gotta do. If you always bitching, complaining like most of my friends, more bitching, complaining that this year will be better. It's not that this year will be better or not. It's how you make your year will be better. How you're going to make the year better. Last year was incredibly. If I tell you saying, "Hey, my year last year was incredibly epic," but you didn't understand the struggle that I went through to make that epicness. If I tell you that it's amazing, I didn't, and then I left out the struggle. You say, "Oh my God, this guy is bragging." I left out that I struggled. I got rejected. I learned more. I grew more. I failed. I got hurt. I got depressed, and all that shit. And I call it great because it's life. Life, it's about motion, emotion, joy, happiness, sadness, depression. If you just go through happiness all the time, you feel happy, but nothing. If you don't, or the hardship, the hardness, that make you alive. Most people don't want to go through that. That's okay, but that's not make me alive. Because if I don't go through that, I felt not alive. Most of the time I don't like it. Most of the time I do like it. Right? It's simple. Take this idea and run with it. If you see any book that you like in the blog, right, buy it. Don't think about don't read the review. Fuck the review. Do the opposite. Buy the books. Most people hate the books. Most people don't need knowledge. It's not knowledge that you are trying to consume. It's the wisdom of that is passed down. Because if you can input knowledge in your head, you will become different from everybody else. Because most people aren't willing to put in the time to read, aren't willing to put in the time to reinvent themselves, to change themselves. Change is hard. I hate change. As you grow older, you hate change. So do it for yourself. Do it for your family. Do it for you. Then soon you'll see the impact that you have made. Little by little, you will see it. It's not always happen, but you can see it. Now, subscribe to my channel, and I do book reviews on this YouTube channel, and I'm trying to create a library. It's not. Oh God, I have a vision for that because there's people don't go to library anymore. People don't read anymore. People, all they do is enjoy the what everybody else does, and I don't want that for you. Let's do this. Let's make a decision that we're going to read these type of books, and we're going to set goals and vision, not based upon society, not based upon it's how you feel and what you wanted to do. And you're going to make mistake, and the goal that you thought you wanted, you can let it go. It can change. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. I would like to, how did it feel to be in the presence of Uncle Bruce? You keep calling me.
How did it feel? Well, at the time, I didn't know that he was famous or that he had a following. I didn't know what Green Hornet was, I just knew that he was a really cool guy, and he was at the house a lot, and Dad and him always, were always together, and to me, they reminded me with my adult eyes like two scientists, just obsessed to find like the latest, greatest thing. And I can remember as a child, Uncle Bruce was over in they were in my father's library. And so the parameter of my dad's library had all these books, all these photos, all these weapons. But in the middle of the library, there was like a weightlifting set. And then one corner was my father's desk. So Uncle Bruce would be working out doing weights, and then my dad would be taking notes, and they would talk out loud, different concepts and, different theories. And I was too much of a little girl to remember. I just remember that they were they were multitasking, definitely. And yet Uncle Bruce was really good about being able to take a break and kid around with me and be the sweet uncle that he was. So, I mean, those are the kinds of memories that I have. And yet they would go, once I, left the room, they were right back to, taking notes and, talking about, the nuanced levels of their research,
Right. Thank you so much for the, the image of the story of the book. Because I noticed that in one of his Bruce Lee book, it's like, he read 2,000 books. Because, I'm into, I remember Ron Balicki, your husband, said you guys are into Tony Robbins, right? I'm into personal development, right? And
I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. What do you get into personal development deep or not that?
Oh yeah, you know who I love? Have you heard of Jen Sincero?
Mm-hmm.
Or a badass? I love her. I'm listening to her Audible books. I also have her regular books as well. But her Jen Sincero, I love her because she's so unorthodox in her approach. But she's like an Anthony Robbins, and so she'll use what I call urban language and talk and and yet you feel really enlightened when you're listening to her. But it's done on this level that's very organic. So she's an amazing life coach, just like in the same vein as Anthony Robbins. You know, they all have their different approaches. But yeah, I would recommend her to anybody if anybody's out there listening. You know.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wait, do you know the book? Well, I guess I'm gonna try. Do you know a book called Think and Grow Rich?
What's it called again?
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, or like you never heard of it?
Yes, I have. Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, I have heard of that. In fact, I think my that's the same book I'm thinking of. It's sitting on my my dresser. My kid bought that for me for Christmas. So he knows I love these kinds of books. You know, I think it's very important for people, any individual, to always feed their mind with the latest, greatest, and even if you may disagree, it doesn't matter. But there's always people that might have insightful things to share. Anything that helps build your body, your mind, body, and spirit, you know, because, you know, these are times where we have so much information coming at us. And I do think it's important to be able to block out everything else and to feed oneself, you know, and to be on a personal path of growth. So I commend you for reading these kinds of books.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out a pathway to see, because I know that Bruce Lee is actually a spiritual person too, and he reads like spiritual books. But I'm trying to segue where what type of books he reads and what type of you guys read too, because I think that you guys are living an amazing life, and I think that, I'm sorry. I think that because people, you know, I never known, you know, how to become successful. You know, where people have a different mindset, you know, society and you know, school. Because I'm a special education, right? I would like to impact the special education because I was labeled special ed, right? And
Were
so,
you?
yeah, and so they said that I have a learning disability until I found out that if I read these books about, you know, the brain, like
Yeah.
Tony Buzan, I could, like, I think it's ineffective the way that the educational would teach a student how to operate or the brain. And so I would now realize that we are smarter, right? I disagree with the educational system with America.
Right. Well, it's a certain style. It's a certain system, right? But there are many styles and systems. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because my own son I have two sons. I have one with autism, and I have another one that was classified with having ADD. But, you know, I already knew you know, first of all, I come from a family of educators, but I'm also aware, just as a martial arts teacher, that everybody learns differently. We're all wired so uniquely. And so sometimes I could teach one way with one individual and find that maybe with another person, if I took a different approach, they learn differently. So, and that's kind of the way I look at my own boys too, when it came down to their own education, you know. And, you know, I would take in, you know, and absorb what other people may say, but I always took notice when there were maybe different perspectives on learning. And so I don't think either one of them are wrong. It's just, you know, gathering what it works best for you, you know. And so yeah, I commend you. That's awesome that you're doing that. And